Hey, this is the Nature Boy Ric Flair, and believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it, because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
The worldwide leader of podcasting excellence, the king of podcasts radio network proudly presents the Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
What an eventful weekend as we go ahead and roll into another episode of the Wrestling is Real podcast. So we have news about Bray Wyatt. CM Punk has another incident at the biggest AEW show ever, AEW All In, Wembley Stadium. I did a post show for that. A post show also included comments about NWA 75, which I got a little bit more to talk about tonight, and Impact Wrestling Emergence. So I covered all those shows this past weekend. Look for it right now. kingofpodcasts.com. You can look for it as the last episode that was on here prior to this one, and take a look for that so you can go ahead and keep abreast of what's going on. Episode 791, and this is 792. So there's a lot to get into. We're not going to waste a lot of time with it, and we'll see how long we go tonight, because this weekend we have another pay-per-view. Actually, two more. So this weekend we got WWE Payback, which is coming up on Sunday. This will be on Saturday, right? Oh, God, I cannot keep my times together. Yes, Saturday. Correct. And then we have MLW Fury Road on Sunday. So all this is going on. This is ridiculously a lot of stuff going on. So I got that to go and cover as well. 2300 Arena. A lot of matches going on for that night as well. So we'll go ahead and talk about that coming up. And they got a whole lot of matches all set up. So looks good. All right. Here it is. Let's go and talk all about it. First of all, we're going to start with Bray Wyatt. We'll get to CM Punk in a minute. This is what I was waiting for. From Thursday, we learned about what happened to Bray Wyatt, or Wyndham Rotunda. TMZ reported that he passed away in his sleep, and that Wyndham Rotunda suffered a series of heart complications during the last few months of his life, and a doctor recommended heart defibrillator was not with him when his body was found. I know my mom went through this kind of thing where she was dealing with a lot of heart issues at the very end, and then trying to do heart surgery. Now, we never heard anything if there was any heart surgery that was done, but obviously what was done, instead of actual open heart surgery for Wyndham, they put a defibrillator in to try to control his heartbeat. And I can imagine, I kind of get where that all comes from. But that's something where I guess it's not something that they put inside of him, but more that they gave to him. And I'm not even sure how that works out. But yeah, they gave him a defibrillator that was supposed to be with him. But that was not with him when his body was found. And law enforcement records that TMZ obtained state that Wyatt told fiancé Jojo Offerman on Thursday he was going to take a nap. An hour later, his alarm started going off without stopping, and that's what caused Jojo to get concerned and found him in bed not breathing. And TMZ also noted that he was turning blue by the time she found him. That's it. That's everything. 911 was called as Jojo's mother attempted CPR. He was pronounced dead at the hospital. Sean Ross Sapp at Fightful.com said that Wyatt got COVID earlier this year, and it led to heart complications. And he had a weaker lower part of his heart, and he was hospitalized just a week before his death and was scheduled for a follow-up appointment on the day he died. Well, then I guess there's something of the fact that when the Rotunda apparently contracting COVID, you know, if his heart already is compromised and having heart complications, now they're trying to say that heart complications is the result. I don't want to go into more detail as to what that might be, but the COVID diagnosis, that means there was probably pre-existing conditions that Wyndham was going through leading up to, if, you know, whatever kind of treatment he got for COVID and whatever it did to him, that it caused him to have a lot of heart trouble, took him off TV, took him off altogether. That's unfortunate. 36 years old, still a horribly tragic way to go. So early in his life, a lot of amazing tributes out there I've seen from a lot of wrestlers, and, you know, we'll leave it at that. So like I said, the door closes now on this chapter, And of course, we're always going to have a lot of things to say about Bray Wyatt going forward. And I'm sure a lot of podcasters, my fellow podcast wrestling brethren, have the same sentiments. Godspeed to Bray Wyatt, to Wyndham Rotunda, and his family, and his wife, his children. It's a shame to go and see all this happen. So, made a mention of that on the post show this past weekend, but now we have the news that tells us what happened. That was what I wanted to find out more than anything, was to see how this all happened. It was nothing of mental health. That's good. But it's unfortunate that he had medical issues that, especially when it's the heart, not much you can do. I mean, unless everything can get recovered, but, you just wonder what kind of issues he was going on with for a long time, but it's a shame. And that they've been suffering for months as it is. Sad. All right. So let's talk about CM Punk. And another event to where CM Punk is here. He has his match early on to start off the night at AEW All In Wembley Stadium in London. Has his match, the real world title. That's his storyline. And he's been going after Samoa Joe for a while. Those two have been at it. Replenishing, reigniting the feud that was theirs in Ring of Honor Wrestling back in the early 2000s. And now we have AEW All Out this weekend. I got to say this before we get into CM Punk. Great news for those of you in the South Florida area that, of course, I am stationed. My man cave is here in South Florida, in Palm Beach County, as you know. Well, in Palm Beach County, I'm glad to go and say that Buffalo Wild Wings, the experiment of having the AEW pay-per-views at their venue, that's done. And apparently, I was looking through my Regal Unlimited Pass, and I was looking at what movies were out this weekend, and I scrolled down to Coming Soon, and AEW All Out is going to be playing in my movie theater this weekend. So for those of you in West Palm Beach and surrounding areas, so that's Jupiter, Loxahatchee, Belglade, Pahokee, South Bay, where I came from, my hometowns, by the way, Lake Worth, Boynton, all that good stuff. If you're within the sound of this, it's at Regal Stadium 18 in Royal Palm Beach. AEW All Out will be on pay-per-view, and they'll have it available half price of the regular pay-per-view price, $25. And there you go. I'm going to watch it. I got it this weekend. I saw it. I was like, wow, they're going to put this on here. Okay, I'm buying tickets. So any of you fans, if you want to go ahead and catch up with yours truly, go ahead and get your tickets and go catch me over there at the Regal Stadium 18 to watch AEW All Out. Fun, fun, fun. I actually watched from my phone all of AEW All In. It's actually really nice to be able to watch pay-per-views on the phone, I must say. Right? Now, anyway, so CM Punk was scheduled to work All Out this weekend in Chicago, but now he's suspended along with Jack Perry, and he's not expected to work the show. And the suspensions against both stars are expected at least until the investigation into the matter is over. Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful Select, reports a person likely affected by the incident is Ricky Starks. He's suspended in storyline for 30 days because of his attack on Ricky Steamboat after his match with CM Punk on a recent Collision show. Starks was discussed for a big match at AEW All Out against CM Punk, and Punk would defend the Real World title. That was the whole plan of that because of what was going on with Starks. But now Starks probably will not have a match this weekend. So we don't know what he's going to be doing at the card anyway. And so tonight they had matches all set up, and currently for AEW All Out for the featured matches, and we'll talk about the whole card coming up. Kenny Omega versus Konosuke Takeshita, and a very good run up to that match where they did a nice storyline with Don Callis basically going through medical charts of Kenny Omega's body to explain how Konosuke Takeshita was being so precise and surgical in his damage of Kenny Omega during the six-man tag at All In London. Miro will take on Powerhouse Hobbs. It's a singles match. The feud started up in Collision. They've been going on that for a while, so they're going to have that. The Book of Hobbs. And Miro's going to be put into that book, that apparently. Luchasaurus will defend the AEW TNT Championship against Darby Allin. That should be a great match. Getting set up for that. And Chris Statlander will defend the TBS title against Ruby Soho. That's so far. But that's the first four matches. There's more to it. We'll talk about that shortly. So yeah, man, we got that also this weekend. Goodness gracious, I almost forgot. We got AEW All Out, WWE Payback, and MLW Fury Road. Like, it's so much. And Fury Road, I'm not gonna be able to catch it. I'll see if I can catch it live. But damn, man, that's a lot of stuff going on at one time. But the good thing is that Fury Road's actually starting at 6. So a couple of hours, it's going to fortunately, there'll be an overlap a little bit. I'll have to work that out. I'll figure that out. Let me see if I can actually watch the matches. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on, man. This is crazy. Let me tell you. Okay, so let's get more into CM Punk. Everything that's going on. So, where do we start first? There's so many stories going on right now with what happens. So we already know the first part was that CM Punk was going to be suspended because there was an altercation with him and Jack Perry. And apparently it was because of comments that Jack Perry made during his match for the FTW title, in which they used one of the British cars and they were using a real glass on the windshield where Jack Perry put Hook into the glass. And Jack Perry on camera says, hey, it's real glass, cry me a river. So for whatever reason, CM Punk had an issue about that and caused that. But there were more issues besides that. CM Punk was just having a bad weekend. Let's put it to you like that. So more than anything else going on this weekend, I mean, there's a timeline of events we can go into, but I don't really care about going through all that part. Like, it would be way too much to go and talk about. Just saying. So we know of that. Then there was also a report saying that he was not greeted at the airport when he arrived in Heathrow, right? So here's what we got. Initially, CM Punk confronted Tony Khan backstage in a heated, intense manner. Wade Keller, Pro Wrestling Torch, says that Jack Perry, when he made the real glass and Cry Me a River comments during the pay-per-view, Punk was already upset about not being picked up at the airport by anyone with AEW, and Punk didn't know at the time that no one was picked up at the airport. So he wasn't singled out by people in the company. Okay, so no one was picked up at the airport. Interesting. Okay. So they didn't set that up. I'm not too surprised by that. They let everybody kind of like to their own device, get there, get to the show, just make sure that your flights arrived, all that good stuff. Like there might have been like phone check-ins or something like that, or text check-ins, something like that. But anyway, there's that. And then after that, Fightful Select says there was a lot of eye rolling from people in AEW. This is another Full Gear incident. So Jack Perry cited that Perry didn't throw the first punch. It was Punk who shoved him and put him in a choke. And there were various versions of this told with someone saying that it was a shove, a pie face, or a punch. Samoa Joe reportedly tried to play peacemaker and kept others out during the incident. And other people said that Punk asked Perry if he had a problem. And this was after Perry's match where we talked about. And then Punk started something online in regards to the fake glass story from their previous backstage incident. And that Perry said his comments were a receipt. Okay. Much like Adam Cole receipt or whatever it is, right? It's like this, all this stuff going on, man. And then the suspension that came about. At the moment, Punk was already talking about wanting to quit AEW before going on with this match with Samoa Joe. He stated that he hates AEW. He was sent away from Wembley Stadium and did not interact much with Tony Khan following the incident. Nick Hausman of House of Wrestling noted on Twitter that Punk wasn't made aware of his suspension, but was instead told by his lawyer. From what they're saying is, on X, Nick Hausman makes a point that AEW has not directly contacted Punk about a suspension, but he was informed about it by his lawyer. More shit going on. I'm so tired of this. We already went through this before. Look, all I got to say with this is that AEW doesn't want to, if they can avoid having to go ahead and buy out the deal that CM Punk is in place. Listen, if they have to go through this stuff right here, the most important thing is, listen, he's still contributing to his matches, working regularly on Collision, which is helping to keep the ratings somewhat stable. Okay. They focus him in main events. He's getting to use this real world title angle, so he's getting to do that. He's getting to work with people that he definitely feels good with when it comes to FTR and Samoa Joe. Like, right, okay, he's got that. He's working with Ricky Starks, great. Wants to work with young kids, wonderful. So he's doing work in the company. That's fine with me. Now, everybody else wants to go ahead and go into the salaciousness, the palace intrigue of CM Punk getting in trouble again. Okay, he got suspended. And what do you expect this guy always consistently having to have something to go on? And look, Jack Perry, if I'm correct, yeah, Jack Perry's not even on. Okay, it's a pay-per-view, and Collision and Dynamite kind of keep themselves apart. Like CM Punk doesn't really interact with those that are on Dynamite, and Jack Perry is always on Dynamite. So this right here, you know, there might be something where, I mean, do you need CM Punk to have a handler when you're out there? I mean, especially what's going on here, why is it CM Punk was able to be isolated with another wrestler to do this? Okay, CM Punk might have his issues, and okay, people don't want to listen to him, fine. But there's got to be people that in the back that are controlling the situation. And CM Punk is not acting like a locker room leader, even though he has Collision now as a show that is his jump-off point. He's featured exclusively on that program. He's never on Dynamite. Good. And he's been doing fine over there. So let him go through the suspension. Okay. Ricky Starks is still under the deal where he's suspended right now, and they haven't set up the match. Well, okay, we'll eventually get there soon enough. But for me, they're not going to get rid of him. Tony Khan's already made his point that after Full Gear, bringing him back and getting everything all rectified, he's going to continue to be this belligerent and this, you know, agitating. He can be easily agitated. That's just who he is. That's CM Punk. So continue to work with him until the contract's done, and there you go. Okay? But he is still, the company's benefiting from him, his merch, his appearances. Okay? He was important to be at that All In show because of the fact he got to work with Samoa Joe. They put that show in play. The fans wanted to see him there. 80,000 people. I'm sure a lot of them wanted to go and see CM Punk along with the rest of the roster there to be at that show, the biggest show of the year. So no problem there. All that works out to me. And for people to be upset about that, and we have this continuation of the same bullshit as always, no surprise there. And then more goes on. Wrestling Observer Live says that what they also heard was Brian Alvarez took the word to other people that he talked to the show, and there were different versions of what happened. So with Perry and Punk from weeks ago, Punk supposedly said he didn't want Jack Perry to get cut from Real Glass to avoid missing time from work. And Alvarez confirmed that Jack Perry had planned a planned vacation. And that Alvarez also confirmed the glass spot involving a car and collision was approved, but CM Punk said no to the spot. Okay. And then Alvarez says the following, quote, "The issue from the Jungle Boy side was the belief that I got this okayed. It was clear with the company, and then this guy didn't let me do it. He felt he's not letting me do it because I'm friends with the Young Bucks. That was what was in his mind, apparently." And then Alvarez says he didn't hear this from Jack Perry, but people in the company heard about this weeks ago. And as for CM Punk's travel issues, Brian Alvarez also said that I've heard two versions of this story. And he says that one version that CM Punk arrived, nobody was there, he couldn't get a hold of anybody, so he decided he was going to take the train. The other was when he arrived there was nobody to get there, but he did get a hold of people, and he offered or they asked if they wanted to take the train. But he was fine with taking the train. And then another thing he has is that, why didn't this guy take an Uber or a cab? When we were there were two occasions where we were in the UK where it was impossible to get an Uber. We opened up the app and there were no drivers available. And maybe CM Punk had the same issue. It's possible he could not get an Uber. Well, okay, get a car service at the airport. I mean, the train, sure, but like, seriously? Yeah, if it was me, like, if you want to, then you don't have to provide a limo, but like provide a car service. Get a car service to go pick up Phil Brooks at the airport and bring him in. Or actually, CM Punk, why don't you ask them to get you a car? Hey, call a car service, make sure they got it. Like, I don't know who sets up the plans for him and the logistics, but if they thought it was a thing he needed to have, okay, get a car service. You know. And then there's more. When it comes to Perry and Punk at All In, Jack goes to the curtain. He goes to the glass, and they were working on his cuts. And shortly after the show was supposed to go on the air, CM Punk walks by and says, "Do you have a problem with me?" And Jack Perry says to the effect that, "Well, you heard what I said out there." And then Alvarez noted that during the Brawl-Out fight last year, a lot of people didn't see it, all the fight, but this time, a lot of witnesses were there this time, including Tony Khan. He saw it. And CM Punk, according to several people, said something to the effect of, I could beat your ass, right? So CM Punk, if this is what he said, okay, he agitated the incident because CM Punk provoked it. Okay. But he's going to do that. And he made the comment and either shoved or pie-faced Jungle Boy, grabbed him in the guillotine front headlock. It was immediately broken up. Samoa Joe was right there. Everybody was right there. Nobody got their ass kicked. There was nothing like that. So this was a quickly dispelled incident. This was distinguished quickly. So that's a good thing to know. And it all happened near Tony Khan. They got close enough to him that I believe monitors were knocked down onto Tony Khan. He was right there. He saw everything. A lot of people were right there, and they saw everything. So right. All was visible. Witnesses will be able to go in and be investigated for this, the whole setup. And you know what? Okay, so Jack Perry and CM Punk get suspended. Okay. And CM Punk says he was furious and said several people said he threatened to quit and he didn't want to go off of the match. I believe they went to FTR on the Young Bucks and they were like, "Can you guys open the show?" And the response was, "We're not ready to open the show." So they went to the 6-man tag with Kenny and Hangman, and all those guys were like, "Can you open the show?" And they were like, "I guess we can." And so they were getting ready to go out. Joe was furious. He's at Wembley. There's 80,000 people there, and he's about to go out, and apparently he talked Punk into doing the match. Okay. At the least, that was done. Samoa Joe, even after the incident happened, to get CM Punk to go out there and to do the damn match, good. Samoa Joe gets it. Hey, we got a big money gate. We're making money tonight. Let's give the people what they want. Let's put all this other shit aside and let's take care of the fans. And CM Punk acting, petulant here. Oh, he's not gonna work the match? Listen, after the whole thing that was going on here, there's no reason for him not to work the match. He needed to work the match. So the incident's done. Listen, go out there, do your job, do what you came out there to do. And let's settle all this after. So, yeah, I'm all in about that. I agree with what was being done there. So the incident sounds like, well, they did. They did what they needed to do to take care of it. And that works for me. That works for me fine. But another bullshit thing going on with all this again. And by the way, Collision's been doing a little bit better. They're trying to get their audience kind of kicked back up. We'll see how it works out with football coming up this weekend, because that's the other thing we got to deal with. So Collision will be on. They'll have a go-home show for that. And then we set up for AEW All Out on Sunday. But then the full slate of college football begins. Week 1 of college football begins. We're all set to go. First weekend of September, here we go. It's all in. Time for it. So they had a 550,000 viewers set up for that, which was cool. It's a pretty decent for them to get up to that point. Now, let's move along into another incident that was talked about at the show where reportedly, there was another issue with Miro at All In. But there's been disputes. And Brian Alvarez gave additional details that Miro apparently called BS on the story about Perry initiating the fight with Punk. And Miro posted a photo of a taxi cab, which has been attributed to him taking a shot at Punk. And then Alvarez added, apparently, quote, there was another near incident when CM Punk, and I heard this from multiple people again, when CM Punk came through the hurt curtain, Miro starts coming up and he's like, what happened with Jack Perry? CM Punk is like, oh, so now you got a problem with me now? So they get into an argument and basically it's like, do you want to step outside? I don't know what will happen, but I do know they didn't step outside, and CM Punk ended up back in the trainer's room, but apparently there was an issue with Miro and CM Punk, and that's why Miro's been all over Twitter the last couple days. And Miro and CM Punk on the same show. They're both on Collision. How about that? From the Warner Brothers Discovery side, CM Punk is off the show at AEW All Out in Chicago. And then it was asked around that they're suspended. There's going to be an investigation, and there's an investigation going on. Now, he said, Brian Alvarez said that most people, Wrestling Observer newsletter, by the way, let me make sure to give distinction there. He's spoken to people, he's spoken to believe Punk, according to people, that he'll be back, but a handful of people he spoke with think Punk is done. We don't know that yet. And that the incident put a damper on the whole show for a lot of the town. You have people that are huge fans of Jack Perry, and they hear all this. And a friend of Punk was so mad about what happened, they ended up punching a wall and broke their hand or something like that. There's a cloud over this entire show among the talent. So yeah, this doesn't look good for the talent again, that CM Punk continues to be an issue. And people just have to get around that and just kind of get past all this. You know, what can you do? By the way, WrestlingNews.co transcribed it, so let me make sure to go and shout out to WrestlingNews.co and Paul Davis for the transcription for this. So F4WOnline.com, WrestlingNews.co. Make sure I give the credentials as necessary, right? And then we set up for AEW Dynamite, which sets things up for All Out. Orange Cassidy and Penta El Romero have a great match together for the international title. Awesome. And Orange Cassidy is now set up to take on Jon Moxley for the international title. And a very fiery promo by Orange Cassidy to finish things up, along with a bit of a pull apart as they were face to face, and Jon Moxley goes out there and, you know, butts heads with Orange Cassidy to the match. Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara, that's obviously a thing now where a little more of friction between them, but now the Sex Gods are going to reunite to go after the AEW Tag Team titles starting next week on Dynamite. Set up for that. And then MJF and Adam Cole, they talk to each other. A battle royal on Rampage is going to determine who's going to take on MJF and Adam Cole for the Ring of Honor Tag Team titles. That'll be on Rampage. And then there'll be a tournament to decide who will face MJF upcoming, right? So for All Out this weekend, the Ring of Honor Tag Team titles will be on the line. MJF and Adam Cole will take on the winner of the Battle Royal among Ring of Honor Tag Teams for the title match. And then there will be an eventual championship tournament to find out MJF's next opponent for the AEW title at Grand Slam next month, Arthur Ashe Stadium. And then they continue the story with Adam Cole and the whole deal with Roderick Strong, which was good, right? MJF's going to be going it all out. Says his neck is not in great shape, but he's going to be out there. And then Matt Bennett, Matt Taven, Roderick Strong confront Adam Cole in the ring. Roddy says he cares more about MJF's neck than his. And Cole feels like that the Kingdom is basically getting into Roddy Strong's head. They go through the whole story about the Kingdom and where they've been right now. Went to Ring of Honor. Jumped to the Bullet Club. Matt Taven did to go ahead and get cash in on merchandise. So now Adam Cole's lashed on the MJF, they say, because he thinks he's the gateway to the AEW title. And if that's the way they made him feel, he's sorry, but he knows friends shouldn't be understanding. Should be understanding, and they should understand MJF is not only his friend, his best friend. Strong doesn't want to accept it, and he's going to enter the Grand Slam tournament, and he's going to do what Cole couldn't do and beat MJF and be champion. And Cole tries to make the point to Roddy Strong that his neck is not in good shape, and Strong is going to insist he's going to do it. So that story now is going to be embedded into the Grand Slam tournament, which I imagine Adam Cole is going to be in. I mean, why wouldn't he be an entrant into that tournament? And then we get a rematch at Grand Slam? Maybe something like that. But Roddy Strong and the Kingdom continue to be apart. So they're fusing all these characters together to put the storyline. It's been good so far. The MJF Adam Cole story has been very good. And I was actually kind of surprised that Adam Cole did not win the belt. And that they still let MJF go and retain the title. I was actually kind of surprised by that. But I'm okay with it. I think the story they told, now they're still friends. They got the tag titles. So they got all this going on, and then you still got this friction going on with Roddy Strong and the Kingdom and all their backstory. Got it. So Dynamite was good, and now we got all that set up to go into AEW All Out. this weekend. So we got that to go for. So let's go into a preview of that show real quick, and then we'll go to Payback after that. Okay, United Center, Chicago. We already know for the AEW TNT title, Luchasaurus versus Darby Allin. I'm going to take Darby Allin for the win. I will take Powerhouse Hobbs to beat Miro. I will say that Chris Statlander is going to retain the TBS title over Ruby Soho, because Ruby Soho is going to be screwed over probably by Toni Storm somewhere, I think, in this match, because there's a whole breakup right now with Toni Storm and the whole outcasting. They need to go and play that out. Orange Cassidy, Jon Moxley. After all this time, oh boy. You know, the way the promo came out, I'm going to say that Jon Moxley's going to win. I think he becomes international champion. I do. Kenny Omega versus Konosuke Takeshita. So Omega lost his match in the 6-man tag. And the way that Don Callisthene's going, I think Takeshita takes the win. Or Omega gives it back, but I think Takeshita gets the win. So then we got Young Bucks and FTR teaming up together against Bullet Club Gold. So that's Juice Robinson, Jay White, Austin, and Colton Gunn. All in that. That's a really hell of a match. And I'm going to take... Ooh, man. Well, there's nothing on the line, so I'm going to take Bullet Club Gold for the win. Better Than You, Baby will take on whoever wins the Rampage Battle Royal on Rampage this weekend, so I got to catch that too. It's interesting where Rampage does get like a featured match that's like really important, and it's going towards the All Out pay-per-view, which is good. Okay, so we're going to get that. Ring of Honor TV title, Samoa Joe will defend against Shane Taylor. You know, Shane Taylor's not going to win that, no matter how good he is. And then we get also Eddie Kingston, Katsuya Shibata against Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta. We already know that Eddie and Claudio already have their issues together, and Shibata and Kingston all together. And I like that, you know, Kingston's been doing really well in New Japan, strong openweight championship. So I mean, you know, he hasn't been holding belts in AEW, but right here is just fine. I like that part, and they use them in Ring of Honor and stuff, so that's good. I like all that. So let's get one more thing talked about when it comes to All In. And what goes on with that, which for me, you know, I don't feel too bad about. Like, I think for the fans that are like upset, and are they willing to go ahead and accept the fact that this has been done? Like, everybody's like, you know, the WWE fans of some of the ones that I've seen out there, they did have to give some props somewhat because they were able to go and pull out a big show. But of course, couple of the folks that I also follow on X, they had to say, well, you did it in the UK, why don't you do it here? I mean, the one thing is, yeah, they did a show in London. They never did a show in London or anywhere outside of the US. So to have this show go on, and they sold out pretty quick. I mean, is it time for AEW to go and be able to say, okay, we're going to pull a show in a big arena? But what are you going to do? You know, if it were me, it's like, you could. I mean, one of the things, first and foremost, if you're going to do a big pay-per-view, you don't necessarily have to go to a big city and like go and pull out. What you could do is, you know, you could do it at home. You could do it at hometown. You could do a Jacksonville show. Go to Everbank Field, the home of the Jaguars, the stadium itself. You own the stadium, Tony, and, you know, Sadiq. So you could just use the stadium there. People can get into Jacksonville from all over the place and have the show there. And Jacksonville gets a benefit from it. You could start off from there. Or the other thought is, I'll tell you this. Maybe you do Double or Nothing at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. That I like. And I think you could pull it off. I think AEW in Las Vegas, you know, they've already have a position spot there. And I think if you do a Double or Nothing, if you're going to do a big stadium show, make it that show and put it there. And put it at Allegiant Stadium. I think it can be done. Because you're talking about what? Memorial Day weekend, you're outside of football season. So Allegiant Stadium is going to be there for the taking. And you could probably run the show there. So why not? I mean, that's when WWE did their show, when they did Money in the Bank, they did it at Allegiant Stadium, and that was in June. So like right around the same time. I'm sure the Allegiant Stadium could probably do something where, Vegas, to get people in Vegas that time of year for Memorial Day weekend, that'd be pretty good for them. That'd be quite a ticket to get. So I like that part. All right. So Brian Gerwitz, a former staff writer with WWE, right? Most recently, he is working with Seven Bucks Productions. He's Senior Vice President of Development. And he put out a book, There's Just One Problem, True Tales from the former one-time seventh most powerful person in WWE. Hard title, Brian. I'm stumbling over it. He's talking about what would Vince McMahon feel about AEW breaking all these records. Quote, I really don't think he cares. I really don't. Now, granted, I started on the creative team in November 99. There was still technically the Monday Night Wars, but there wasn't much warring going on because Russo and Ferrara had already left the company, and it started a month ago. So Vince was always focused on a show and a product, even though WCW would be on and the whole Monday Night Wars was going on. He was aware of it. I'm sure in the case of England, if someone was like, hey, AEW has this thing, maybe we can have something with John Cena, he would be like, go ahead and do it. He certainly would be cognizant of it, but it wasn't like, how am I going to take those guys down? He's really like, worry about your stuff, and everything will fall into place because you can't control what other people are doing. You can only control what you have right in front of you. And I think that's exactly the mindset, is that no one really cares what right now. In WWE, they're not paying attention at all to what AEW is doing. But they can recognize the fact that, alongside with their growth, AEW is growing as well. And that might be one thing that might be considered as a help because of what's going on now, because they're doing pretty well for what it's worth. And as for the fans out there, if you're going to continue to go and bash AEW because that's how you feel, then that's what you're going to do. It's your modus operandi. I could give a shit about that. I don't like the idea of fans. Well, it's like Dallas Cowboy, New York Yankee fans that feel like, well, their team is superior to all and like everybody else is inferior. I never feel like that. I don't worry about like, oh, there's the quality of the product between watching WWE to AEW to Impact Wrestling to MLW. You know what? I find quality matches and quality stars and talent across all those wrestling companies. Hell, even this weekend at NWA 75, granted, Tyrus probably could have retired a while back. Like him going out there, I watched that match with AC3. Shit. Damn, man. Tyrus was like, he was gassed. He looked okay for a while with a couple of different things, but there were just some moves that he did. I didn't make a point about that because I wanted to be able to watch the match before I made real comments about it. I was just happy to see that EC3 won it. But yeah, man. Yeah, Tyrus taking that DDT down to the floor, that looked awful. Tyrus barely able to go and move the ropes, that was awful. Like he looked like kind of Great Khali, kind of like out there. It was tough to watch. And it's too bad because Brodus Clay has always been, as Brodus Clay, he was really good in 2010, 2011, right? And then moving all the way up in the Tyrus, like, when Tyrus first came into NWA, yeah, he was fine. But I don't know, man. I don't know how much training he does and how much, he's been able to work out. But you know what? He's got a nice cush job at Fox News. He's doing fine over there with Greg Gutfeld and those people, man. So, like, good for him. But yeah, maybe his wrestling career's done. He don't need to keep me out there anymore. He's got his family. He's got other things going on. So yeah, he's doing just fine. He could be talking and he could be a panelist or a co-host or do whatever else wants to do at Fox News and be a contributor. He's doing just fine over there. But yeah, wrestling doesn't have to be for him anymore. But listen, he did hold on to the belt 165 days. Fine. And EC3 now, they built up and now they got EC3 as champion. Great. EC3 finally getting the chance to be champion again. His build up right now with everything he was doing with that organization, whatever that group was. What was the name of that EC3 Braun Strowman faction? What was that again called? Control Your Narrative. That's right. And they did everything they did with him and Braun Strowman, and then Braun Strowman went back to WWE, And now we're at this point of okay, it's done. And EC3 went along and didn't go on with the independent wrestling promotion. But what he decided to do was, okay, well, let's take control of your narrative and let's parlay into a storyline. And he goes to work at the NWA. And Billy Corgan takes him in. Great. Hey, good thing for Billy Corgan to go and have EC3 on board. Because with EC3, when you look at what it comes down to, now you finally got a champion that can actually be out there and work for a while. He's 40 years old. He's still pretty well young into his career. So, for him to be now the current world's heavyweight champion, former national heavyweight champion, he's here, and now he gets to go and be this part. It's great. Now, according to what they're saying here, one of the stories I read was 289 days that Tyrus held the belt, but I forgot it was like a breakup in between. I forgot that. So a bull rope match, that's what Tyrus wanted to have for the match. Done. And now EC3 gets to be champion. And there's a lot of people that can set up for what they have going forward. I mean, if you want to say Colby Corino might be in line, or Kerry Morton might be in line at some point. There's stars they got in there now of that current roster that are not bad. Because what I saw of the show this weekend, I saw most of it. There were a couple of matches I did not watch. I absolutely went and got, after what I watched on Sunday, what I absolutely went and watched was, I went ahead and finished up everything when it came to Camille losing the Burke and the Women's World title to Kenzie Page, which I think Kenzie Page is just fine. Listen, she's a young upstart. Work good for her. And good for them to go and have a part here. Pretty Empowered is the faction now with Callie Page and Ella Envy. They're tag team champions, the women's tag team champions. So you got that as going for you as well. Everything's set up. And a lot of new champions and a reset of everything going on at NWA 75. So you did that. That was a good setup for that. And quickly, I got EC3, who makes comments after he wins the belt.
These are the moments you can't plan for. These are true, real, raw, emotional moments derived from the greatest art form, the greatest physical spectacle that we have come to love, and that is professional wrestling. There's no white piece of paper. There's no verbatim script written. These are raw, true, real emotions. And in this moment, in this emotion, I've become who I'm supposed to be.
Good for him. Now, Thrillbilly Silas Mason has become the NWA National Heavyweight Champion and also had a defense he had on. He had a four-way match, or to me, a three-way match with, Odinson and Kratos, GR Kratos. Set up there. No more Pollo Del Mar. That's all done. And we got to hear from him after he wins the National Heavyweight title, and everything all changed up there.
Look at that, baby. Look at that. Man, last year I went against Davey Richards and I lost my opportunity at the MLW Openweight title. 2 years before that, I snapped my goddamn leg in half. But now, that all gets washed away, all those sins and transgressions off my back like water off a duck's. But I'll take that with me, man. Every bump and bruise along the way, everything that I've done, scratching and clawing to get to where I am right now. I'm at the peak of the mountain. This is the best my career has ever been. I know a lot of guys can say that, but this is the highest point for me right now.
And let me tell you something. This weekend, I am now fully in with Thrillbilly Silas Mason. I like him. He's good. And he's relatively young. He's 32 years old. 30 years old, So he's all set up here. Silas Mason, and I forgot about the fact that he took on Davey Richards. And the MLW, it wasn't the heavyweight championship. Was it the middleweight championship? I forget. I think it was the middleweight. But either which way, Silas Mason young star. And I don't want to say anything bad about Poirier DeMar. Listen, I get the character. I get the whole deal behind it. But you know what? It wasn't anything about the character itself that, you know, it made a big difference to me. I just thought, well, Through Silas Mason doesn't need a manager or a valet. Doesn't need any of that. And now it's proven. Listen, I think right now, Silas Mason goes up. And I think people need to recognize that Silas Mason's actually pretty good talent. So now in NWA, they're going to have to pay notice. Like, that's a strong star right there, built from the NWA. Billy Corgan gets credit right there. Colby Corino, they've been building him up, and him and Kerry Morton. Kerry Morton drops the junior heavyweight title, and they had all that set up, which was good. We had the U.S. Tag Team Champions, okay, and then you had a World TV Champion, and now they got Max the Impaler. So listen, you have Max the Impaler out there along with Father James Mitchell, and that beast out there is going to go out there and, you know, roll through every woman they have in the division for the time to come, and we'll see how it goes with that. And as we mentioned, Kenzie Page as the new World Heavyweight Champion. Let's go and hear from Pretty Empowered.
NWA's 75th anniversary just got a lot prettier. I mean, be for real. Pretty Empowered is the new tag team champions. And that's one down and one more match to go.
But that's already done. So a lot of titles brought into the show. Great stuff. Very happy with NWA 75. Last year, no momentum. I even said it out. It was flat. But whatever happened, I think there was something about stars that were moving around when you're looking at what they had. Because when you look at the change from NWA 74 to 75, the difference is a lot. Because when I look at it, and I look at last year's show, you know, EC3 was in it in a short curtain jerker for the first night. Chris Adonis was a featured match. Homicide took on Kerry Morton, and they were doing the setup for Kerry Morton to go ahead and eventually, you know, beat Homicide to win. Max the Impaler was already kind of being built up, and then they put her in a match with Camille the next night to win, or to not win it. They were building up Scion. You had Bully Ray and Mike Knox. Now Mike Knox and Trevor Murdoch as a tag team. That's good. So they had a couple of stars they were trying to build up with Scion, Max the Impaler, EC3 being brought back up. They didn't want to. They were building them back up eventually to get to a spot. And then Colby Corino, he starts off the night too in 74, NWA 74. They have Magic Jake Dumas, who was in a featured match, and now they've kind of put it back him in the background, along with Mercurio. And that's right. And well, that's what it was. So Davey Richards was a national openweight champion, but had a pretty good match with Silas Mason, and, you know, not to be. Scion, NWA national champion at the time. And then you had Homicide again in action, and then all this against Flip Gordon in a short match. And Tom Latimer and EC3 had their setup before. So, yeah, people going on trying to work everything up. And seeing Trevor Murdoch last year was when he lost the title to Tyrus with all that. Everything else that's going on is fine. Listen, I just like where they got some stars that have been built up from year to year. They're building them up. So you got some more things to watch with NWA, which is good. Now, Payback this weekend. Let's talk about that, and then we'll go to MLW Fury Road. So everything's just kind of going along with the punches. Nothing related to the bloodline now. So all the other storylines get a chance to get some exposure. So Trish Stratus, Becky Lynch has been going on for a while. Going back to SummerSlam, and now we're set up here. And Trish and Becky in a cage match. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the feature match of the night. Seth Rollins, Shinsuke Nakamura. I feel like Shinsuke Nakamura is just an afterthought here. Listen, I know they did a pretty decent job of getting Shinsuke up as a pretty solid heel now. The whole deal with the injuries that Seth Rollins has, especially with his back. And my thing is they just set up Shinsuke to be a quick finish for Seth Rollins. They'll have a great match together, but Shinsuke's not beating Seth Rollins. It's not happening. Rhea Ripley, Raquel Rodriguez have been setting that matchup for a while. Actually, I must say, Rhea Ripley is just by far, to me, the most popular female women's wrestler right now in that company. And across the board, honestly. Monday Night Mommy, those shirts, they should be flying off the shelves. The purple and the black on that, like I'm telling you, even her character, she's coming into her own. She's a big star now. Like, I'll tell you, that's the one thing that's been very happy. Because I was never a big fan of Rhea Ripley and NXT and the setup for her. But this build-up right now within Judgment Day, she is above and beyond the star in that faction. And the whole thing with Dom is fantastic. That does not get old. I love it. They just got to go ahead and finally get some retribution and figure out what's going to happen with Judgment Day after all. But they're going to have that set up with, by the way, Rhea Ripley's going to retain the title, I think. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn will defend the WWE Undisputed Tag Team titles against Judgment Day, Damian Priest and Sami Zayn. Wait, Damian Priest and Finn Balor. Why does it say on here? Fightful, you put Sami Zayn in here twice. Damn it. So Damian Priest, Sami Zayn. No. Damian Priest and Finn Balor. You should change that. And I expect Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn to win, and Judgment Day will continue to have issues. Grayson Waller effect, gag, and Cody Rhodes is the guest. I am not in the Grayson Waller. Nothing. I don't feel like there's anything there. Grayson Waller is just, it's like, I don't even know what to say about him. But, yeah, he's got some personality, but it's not very much interesting. You know, a bit of an ego, but really he hasn't done anything at all. They're just kind of having him out there just as a pissant. Just annoying people. So we're going to have him set up with Cody Rhodes? I guess. If that what we're going to go and do? Listen, I think Cody Rhodes can have a good match with just about anybody, but if that, are we really going to go to that route? I don't know. And you know what match I'm actually kind of interested in? I must say, LA Knight and The Miz. And Miz totally won me over. Listen, you can say what you want about The Miz, but his impression of LA Knight was great. In about 2 minutes, he basically nailed the entire gimmick of LA Knight, which is what I wanted. Now, let this feud continue. Okay, I guess LA Knight gets the win, and The Miz continues to put the heat on. But the eventual thing that needs to happen from this feud is LA Knight must evolve. He cannot be the yeah and the catchphrases. It's got to be something more. Miz basically exposed exactly what the gimmick is. It's very one-dimensional. It's very simple. I want more out of LA Knight. If we're going to have this happen, then let's get Miz and LA Knight to really go at each other and build this story into something where LA Knight gets to be a bigger star. Let's have that happen. That would be great. Rey Mysterio gets Austin Theory. I'm going to go on a whim. I'm going to say Austin Theory retains. He gets back the U.S. title. I think they're going to do a quick switch around. I believe it. You might not like that idea, but I think they would do that. Does Rey Mysterio necessarily need to be U.S. champion? No. But I think Austin Theory getting it back would be a pretty good storyline. There's a lot more opponents for Austin Theory to have, in my opinion anyway. And there could be an issue with Santos Escobar. We'll finally go back after Austin Theory after all. I don't know. It'd be a nice idea. All right, we're going to wrap things up now and talk about MLW Fury Road this weekend as well. So much going on this weekend. This is a jam-packed weekend, so I got to do a post show. We'll do it Sunday night, and hopefully I'll get a chance to talk about all these shows. We'll focus priority first on Payback. No, I'm wrong. I got to do 2 shows. Yep. Okay. And so I got this issue. Wow, this is crazy. So got Payback going on this weekend, and I got to go to FAU game. I got football to watch as well. I'll find a way to watch it. I might just watch after the fact. I'll catch some of the matches, and I'll find a way to do it. And I'll end up watching Payback on Saturday, and I'll do a post show for that. And then I will do a post show on Sunday to cover, if everything works out right, AEW All Out and MLW Fury Road. So some of the featured matches, Ricky Shane Page will go on against Jacob Fatu. Ricky Shane Page of The Calling, which is Raven's faction, and a Weapons of Mass Destruction match. So there will be weapons in and outside the ring. So Jacob Fatu will defend the National Openweight title against RSP. Matt Cardona is finally getting his debut in MLW. And by the way, Matt Cardona is still working in other organizations. You know, he just works everywhere, right? And he will take on Mance Warner in a Kiss My Foot match. We got that set up. And by the way, Mr. St. Laurent now accompanies Matt Cardona to the, as a manager, basically. That's interesting. And then Tony Deppen will take on Kushida, who will be making his appearance in MLW representing New Japan Pro Wrestling. So that's great. That'll be a great match. Becca, the pop star, against Maki Ito. That's a featured match. And Tracy Williams will take on Ichiban at Fury Road. So those are 5 matches already set up. Good to go. Among other things that are going on. So, there's a lot there. It's good. I like it. And MLW is doing pretty good. Can't complain there. They got a lot of young stars out there that are doing pretty good. And interesting, no Hammerstone. And by the way, we do have a world title match. I forgot to mention that. Alex Kane will defend the title against Willie Mack. I'm actually looking forward to that. Willie Mack, I like how he's being built up in MLW. Much like the same way he was built up in Lucha Underground. And you know what? Matt Striker working with Jaden Brown, or with what is his name? Dabrowski. I forget his name now. What is his damn name? Hold on. Joe Dabrowski. God, there's too many Dabrowskis I know. So anyway, there's that good. I like that as well. And there you go. That's all there is to it. Set up. We are good to go here for another Wrestling Consumer podcast. Everything's set up. Quick reminder one more time. Let me go ahead and run this through you one more time. So I'll have a WWE Payback post show Saturday night late. And that's after the FAU game. I'll have to go and catch some of it while I'm there. And when I'm on the road, heading back from Boca back to the man cave, I'll get to watch it then. And then I will go ahead and do a post show for AEW All Out, which I'll be watching at the Regal Theater, the Regal Cinema 18, Royal Palm Beach, Florida. If you happen to be in the area, please stop by and say hello, King of Podcasts. I'll be sitting up towards the front row. Not front row, but like the end of the front of the second level of seats. How about that? Never said that close in the movie theater. Come on. And I hopefully will get a chance to watch MLW Fury Road while I'm at it. So all that's going on this weekend. Another jam-packed weekend of wrestling. I don't even know how I'm going to keep up with this, but this is like wild that we got all this going on. But we're going to leave it there. And we'll come back again, do it all over again. So much to do. So anyway, Twitter, Tweet X, Facebook, Trends, Instagram, TikTok, at King of Podcasts, and the website for all content, kingofpodcasts.com, kingofpodcasts.com. Find everything there. Talk to you this weekend. Enjoy Payback. Enjoy All Out. Enjoy Fury Road. We'll talk to you this weekend because wrestling needs us.